Psychic Holistic Spotlight. I'm your host. Sorry, allergy season. I'm your host, Josie Way. And tonight we have Ken Demers and Cathy co-hosting. And I'm really pleased to announce someone I've known for a long time through church and through IET classes and her books. I say plural because everyone's seen one book. Well, now there's more. Miss Cathy Foster, and she works with angels, and the good thing is the angels work with her. Yeah. You've got a new book out. What started you on the new book?
The new book is Angel Guidance, Living in the Fifth Dimension. And what started me on that book was working with my friends upstairs, as I call them. They more or less channel the information through me, and I do the physical work, they do the spiritual work. Mm-hmm. And I had started it differently than what it is today. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, one day, I was in the computer and I was deleting this chapter and deleting that chapter and this one, and I'm like, what are you doing? And they restructured the whole book to where they changed chapters all around and said, okay, we got a whole fresh new idea. And that's when Living in the Fifth Dimension decided to be born. What they told me was that as we start living within the fifth dimension, our hearts and souls begin to expand, and our awareness grows. And when we can learn to remove the blocks and restrictions that we've placed upon ourselves by eliminating that, our life starts to change, and we go in a whole different direction. And by lifting the blocks and restrictions, you open up by expanding your awareness, and you start seeing things and realizing things that are really happening right around you within your own energy that you were never aware of before.
Yeah. For me personally, as I've expanded, and I know this is happening to a lot of other people, so I bring it up, my ego fights me.
Right.
And it literally separates from me and fights me and tells me, makes me want to not go in certain directions, tries to make me fearful. And things like that, as you're expanding, start to happen. And you have to realize that it's not something that's wrong, it's something that's right. You're growing.
Right, and what's happening is you're expanding your awareness, and you're starting to step out of your comfort zone, and you're seeing things that are outside the box. Mm-hmm. Okay? So when you do that, your ego says, oh no, you can't do that. That's not right. Well, at that point, what I do is I sit and I listen, and I say, okay, that's your opinion, now this is mine. And this is the way I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna try this. And I just acknowledge it, but then I move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that makes a big difference, and just, you're not really ignoring it, you're just respecting it. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, I know this is what it is, but this is not what I want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. It really does.
It does.
Because it can bring up, what's happened to me is it's brought up old childhood fears.
It does.
And you have to deal with that by acknowledging that child part of yourself,
right,
and honoring it, and then telling the ego, now we're going to move forward.
Right, and what you do is you send healing to that specific situation. Mm-hmm. That childhood memory that has come up, you send healing to that, and then you're able to move forward easily and effortlessly, because now you've removed that block, and you've lifted that restriction that you've placed on yourself. You're eliminating what was stopping you. Yeah. by recognizing it and acknowledging it.
Yeah. Sometimes those blocks can come as fears as well, to even, as adults, children too, though, they just, they just stem a little bit lower. And you can get confused with, because a lot of times when things happen, though, and you receive these messages, they don't make sense at the time that you receive them. So there's a disconnect there, but yet, though, it's like after a while doing this, though, you learn to just trust what you're getting and just see where it goes.
Yeah,
Right.
there are major lessons in letting go of doubts, trusting, and letting go of old ways of doing things.
Right. And that's what living in the fifth dimension is all about, actually. It is about expanding your awareness, letting go of the old, bringing in the new, learning to function in a new way of life by, when you expand your awareness, you're noticing things around you that you normally would not notice. Like an example that I use is, a couple months back, I saw on this trash truck, it said Gordon. And I said, okay, so I acknowledged the fact that I saw Gordon. And then when I went home, on TV was a commercial for Gordon fish sticks. So I'm like, okay, so there's Gordon again, okay? So then I get in my car and there's something on the radio and they're referring to this person called Gordon. So I'm like, okay, so that's the third time. And then I get in my bus and I go in the afternoon to do my run, and there's a truck saying Gordon Deliveries. So it's like 4 times in one day. That's expanding your awareness and recognizing that they're trying to get a message to you.
Well, what was the message?
Actually, the message was for Myrna, a friend of mine, and it was one of her personal guides that was coming in because she needed a message. And it was all about a message about evolving and moving forward and stepping out of her comfort zone.
How difficult was it for you to surrender yourself to the higher intelligences to do the work?
Talking when I first started, or?
Both. Comparison.
Oh, when I first started, when I was younger, it was 100% resistance. Like 100% resistance. I've spent half my life trying to shut it down and push it away. And then when I realized that wasn't happening, that's when I started educating myself every which way possible to try to understand what was happening, what was going on, and how to protect myself. And that's how my first book actually came about. And it's really the story of my life when I started when I was 8 years old. And then the second book, and where I'm at now, there's no resistance. It's like I take what they say. I work hand in hand.
Do you edit it?
Do I edit what they say to me?
Do you just accept it blank? Okay, this is face value, that's it? Or do you say, well, gee, maybe there's a different interpretation for this? Or?
Well, if I'm doing a reading and they're trying to explain something to me and I don't quite understand it, then they come in and they explain it in a different way or show me a different way. Sometimes if something doesn't make sense to me, then I do question it.
But if they're giving you information for a book, it's kind of like automatic writing or whatever.
I don't question it because I work with a group of angels and a group of archangels, and the energy, it's just like I'm sitting here talking to you or Cathy or Josie. I know your voice, so the second they were there working with me, I know their energy. I know that I can trust that person 100% without questioning them because of their energy.
Now, this is not my belief, but I know a lot of born-again Christians who will say to you, oh, that's the dark side trying to talk to you. Do you give that any credence?
No, because I don't want to say I don't believe in the dark side, but I function in the light. And when I work with my guides, when I'm working with the angels, it's all in the light. And darkness cannot shine where light exists.
Okay. I'm not a big believer in that stuff anyway, so.
So for the book, Living in the 5th Dimension, is there any personal stories in there? I haven't read it yet.
There are personal stories, but I don't want to say I don't believe in the dark side. I function in the light. And there's darkness cannot shine where light exists. Okay. So for the book, Living in the 5th Dimension, is there any personal stories in there? I haven't read it yet. That one is like a self-help book.
Okay.
Every single chapter is a lesson on something that I have learned in my
Okay.
life. And then at the end of every chapter is a helpful hint section that is highlighted of all the important parts that I thought were important in that chapter. And then at the end of every chapter is exercises, step-by-step exercises, to help teach you what I have just explained to you in that chapter.
What's an example of a thing?
Let's
an
pull the book.
exercise?
Let's pull the book and
Okay.
I glanced at it because I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
Can you think of any like exercises off the top of your head for that?
Chapter 3, 2, spiritual protection.
Okay, so that one, the exercises in there are how to protect yourself. It's how to bring the Christ light, the white light, down through your crown, right through the inside of your body, down into the earth, grounding that energy, bringing it back up, spiraling it around your body, back up, and then encasing yourself in that light. That's what I call my triple protection.
Okay, and does the average person picking up this book with no knowledge of this subject find that easy to do?
Yes, yes, because I did it step by step. As somebody who had no idea looking in.
And when you say grounding, how do you ground people? How do you have them ground themselves?
You just put your feet flat on the floor and you just imagine roots growing out of your feet, going down into the center of the earth, and they can wrap themselves around a tree trunk, a rock, or just the dirt and the earth. It's very easy to do. It's all through visualization.
Okay, and what about when you're trying to take them up from their crown chakra into the light? Would any particular activities that you would have them partake of?
There are a couple in there. I'm not sure what chapter because, like I said, every single chapter has at least 2 and 3 exercises.
Yeah.
There are a couple where, for new beginners, to raise your vibration or raise
Yep.
your energy, I have you climb up a set of stairs and counting as you go up the stairs, or taking an elevator and, watching the dial go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. So you're raising your energy and you're raising your vibration without really having to focus or concentrate on it.
It's basically a conscious thought. But
That also, when you do that and your energy is higher, you are less likely to be connecting with lower energies.
Right, right. It's teaching you how to go up.
It's ascension.
So this is definitely like a strong connection between body, mind, and soul.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because
It's all connected.
you're evolving. You're stepping out of your comfort zone and you're evolving. So, and if you want to learn how to do that, it's just, like I said, I wrote it out in a step-by-step process. So it would be easy for a beginner as well as an advanced.
Yeah. One chapter I see in here is about forgiving yourself, and
That was tough.
And others.
That was
is
tough.
something that is coming up for everyone who's moving forward.
That is.
Forgiving yourself and forgiving others.
That was a really tough chapter to write because, we all have skeletons in our closet, and you have to learn how to forgive from the heart, not from the mind. You can't just say, oh, I forgive. You have to really feel it in your heart in order to release it and let it go.
what's an average person trying to forgive themselves of?
Okay, so I'm going to use this as an example because this is silly and this is what just popped into my head. I have a cousin, and she's the same age as I am, and we grew up together. My mom and her mom were sisters. And when we were younger, we always played together. And she was a little bit bigger than me, so when we were outside playing one time, I made her be a horse. She was my horse. Okay, so I got on and I was like riding her as my horse. And then as we're playing, I was picking grass and having her eat the grass, okay? So she got sick, and I got in trouble. And that was something that always stuck in the back of my mind.
Grass won't make you sick.
It did.
It will.
It made her sick.
It can.
But this is just an example.
Okay.
Like you said, you know, what are people going to
Must have been
forgive?
a lot of
Okay,
grass.
so what I did was I went back as far back as I could to my earliest childhood memory. And that stuck in my mind. So in my heart, I guess I always felt guilty for having her eat the grass because I made my cousin get sick. So that was something that I asked her for forgiveness in this forgiveness chapter, and then I had to ask myself for forgiveness, and I had to forgive myself for having her eat the grass that made her get sick. You know, and then and that was probably when we were like, I don't know, 8, 10 years old. So then you just move forward and you go to when you were a teenager. You know, and what in the back of your mind do you think or do you feel needs forgiveness? And then you go forward and you keep advancing forward through your ages. And trust me, things will come up. And when they come up, you stop and you work on that until it's healed. And that's not something that you can just sit down and do in an hour. That might take you days, weeks, or months before you go through all the phases of your life to forgive. Forgive yourself for things that you did and forgive others
and
for
forgive
things
others.
that people did to you. You know, and by you forgiving them doesn't mean that it didn't happen. It doesn't mean that, you know, the situation never existed. You're forgiving them and you're forgiving yourself for holding on to that grudge for something that they did. So even if they don't forgive you, you're releasing that off of your shoulders.
Yeah.
Now, when you forgive others, do they always know that you forgive them?
No, because you're doing this privately.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's a talk between you and whoever you perceive your higher.
Not quite the
Person
same.
to be.
But last
Right.
week, my grown son was ranting and raving at me for something or other. And he says, "Dad, you never get emotionally down, you never get emotionally up, you're always just the same." Is that kind of the same thing? You know, he was criticizing me for being steady.
Steady emotions?
Yeah.
Okay, so somewhere in your past, there's a situation that caused you to be
Steady.
that way.
Yeah.
So you have a block or a restriction that's preventing you from showing emotions either way. So if you do this forgiveness chapter and you stop back when you were 10 years old and you move forward, and trust me, the memories will come up, because if you're sitting there and you're in a meditation and you're trying to work on healing your heart, they will surface. And that's when you confront them.
So when he said that to me, I figured, oh, that's a good thing, because you're saying they might be undercurrents of bad things mixed in with it.
There might
Could
be.
be.
Yeah, could be.
That like you said, I've
Being very, very
suppressed
level
stuff.
is unusual.
Right, you're protecting your energy in some way, shape, or form. So you have blocks and restrictions already. Everyone has blocks. Everyone has restrictions. It's just a matter of learning how to expand your awareness, bringing them up to the surface to recognize them and acknowledge them, and that's where the healing takes place.
And at that point, you let them go?
Yes. You forgive them, you release them, and you let them go.
I found something. I thought I had forgiven people time and time again, and yet I got messages that I hadn't done it yet. I hadn't completed it. Well, most recently, I came to the realization that everyone, by the time they're an adult, has been wounded.
Right.
And everyone
had what?
has been wounded in some way.
Oh, wounded, okay.
And that everyone had wounded parts. And once I realized that, I started forgiving, recognizing that everyone did the best they could, given the way they were raised
Right.
and what they experienced, and that everyone had some wound. And therefore, everyone is, I can't think of the right word. Everyone isn't, I'm coming up with entitled to forgiveness.
Yeah,
That
we all
everyone deserves forgiveness.
Yeah, we all have stuff that we got to work on.
And it heals us, not them, when we forgive.
Right, because you are forgiving the situation from your heart, because it has come up so that you can confront it.
Yeah. And what a difference it's made in me with,
It does. It makes a huge difference, especially when you're moving forward, because when you set limitations upon yourself, you feel stuck. You know, and when you go through your healing phase and your forgiveness phase, you start feeling lighter and you feel like your energy is different. You really notice a shift in your energy.
Yeah, it's like
it
a lighter.
really is different, because what happened with me, based on certain therapies, is some of my wounded child parts, the lost child parts, came back, and I'm different. I'm a different person. I'm incorporating them in a little bit at a time, and getting to know them. And every time you are wounded, a small amount of your soul can fracture off, and all those fractures, those aspects of myself are coming back. Aspects that hold anger and fear and sadness, but they also hold joy,
Right.
happiness, contentment. They hold hold a lot of emotions, and they're back with me.
And they're coming back because they've surfaced and you have removed the restrictions from preventing them to come back. So you have opened the doorway.
Yeah, so the soul retrieval can definitely be healing.
Yeah.
To make
I
yourself
didn't
whole.
do anything. They came back to me after I forgave.
You forgave. So
Yes.
by you forgiving them, you remove that
I
block.
opened the door.
Yes.
Now, what happens with a person that never picks this book up and they have all these traumas inside of them and they never address them, confront them, release them? How does that affect their inner being, I guess I don't know how to put it.
It's stale.
Yeah, I'm
They kinda
really
s-
not a
they kinda stay stuck.
psychiatrist, so I really don't have an honest answer for that question. But my thought would be that they would stay locked inside themselves, because you need to heal and forgive to release.
They're the kind of people that keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again, and don't take your advice when you make suggestions. They're not ready to move on, and I will say a prayer for them and bless them.
I'm thinking of a lot of women who carry a tremendous amount of aggression towards multiple ex-husbands or something. I'm just grasping at something that's common and standardized.
Wouldn't that be like not learning their lessons, though, so they can forgive and move on?
I have to tell you something personal. I went to a counselor, and I described a few things. And I said, but I really don't want to go over it all. And, and I recognized that I played a part in it. She said, oh my God, you know how long I've waited to hear someone say that? We all contribute to everything, every
Absolutely.
relationship.
Yes.
Even if your contribution was to never speak up and never argue and never do anything like that, to be just a real sweet little person, well, you weren't really being who you are because that's not human to be a sweet little person.
So you were allowing them to release their emotions because they had nothing to release it against?
Sometimes. Sometimes you contribute to it.
Yeah.
The human mind and spirit is quite, the mind is quite complex. The spirit is very simple. It just wants to love.
Well, maybe. I think it has more to do with lessons and experiences.
Well, it's probably both. So, looks like we're at the end of the show. How can people get a hold of you if they want more information or be able to find the book?
I am actually on Facebook under Cathy Foster.
How do we
LM.
find you on Facebook?
Cathy Foster, LM. And also on Amazon,
What's LM?
Licensed Minister.
That's what I thought.
And it's also on Amazon. If you just Google Angel Guidance and Living in the Fifth Dimension, it'll come right up.
Okay.
Which is wonderful. The title to your other book that's going to be reprinted soon?
It is called Sharing My Secrets About the Angels in My Life, and it is currently unavailable, and I'm in the process of doing a second edition of my first book.
Yes.
Oh, so you already started the second edition for this one?
Yes.
And anyone who's interested in being a budding author, if they have some very interesting angel experiences with, particularly with your children, with young ones. Cathy's looking for stories to add to the stories she's already collected. And you could communicate with her on Facebook, right?
Yes. Yes.
You know, I've got an angel story. Me and my granddaughter, we lived right near Angel Road, and all the time we drive up and down Angel Road, we've never seen an angel yet. They hide.
Yes, they
We
do.
keep looking,
They are there.
but we keep looking.
Yes. You have to look not with the eyes, but with the heart.
That's exactly right.
And then you'll see them.
We look.
They're just little beams of light. They're not great big wings and stuff like that. Most of them will show themselves just as a beautiful spark of light.
Okay.
But there's also been stories though that, people have seen angels in the way they were
yeah.
taught to look like.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
But it takes a lot of energy though for angels to come down to us to look that way though too. It just takes a lot for them to do that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
But they will do it for someone who really needs to believe.
Yeah.
What I have seen as an angel most recently was a beautiful heart with two great big wings. You've seen that symbol
Yes, yes.
previously.
Yes.
And I've seen that symbology for an angel visitation that I experienced a few weeks ago.
There's been a couple of photos that I've seen like years ago. I can't remember if you had them or if somebody else had showed me though, but it was somebody's living room and it was like a double pane sliding door on it.
I have that.
Yeah, so that was from you then.
Yes.
And it showed up almost like a reflection.
Like a transparent.
Yeah,
Yes.
against the window.
It was
And
a
you really-
silhouette, but you could see right through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that really stuck with me. That one definitely did.
On a bright, sunny day, if you're sitting in the blue sunshine, if you look up at the sky, you will see little sparkles,
Millions.
zillions
Yes.
of sparkles.
Yes.
Those are all spirits.
Wow, either spirits or ice crystals.
I bet they're probably spirits.
Thank you.
At a certain point, my grounded mind steps in.
And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You need to have somebody question
Okay.
So how can people get hold of you again?
through Facebook.
Okay, and it's Cathy Foster,
Foster.
LM?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, one more question. I don't know if we got any time or not.
We won't have time.
How do people see angels? How do people teach themselves to see angels?
We'll have to
That's
do
the
that the
question.
next time Cathy comes.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's the question.
that's a very heavy duty answer though for that one.
Yes, that's not a 1 minute quick fix.
Here it is.
No, it isn't.
You just hit the angel button.